Spurs aren't going to roll out the red carpet. Spurs have obviously got a Champions League place to fight for. They've got pride. They've got Postecoglou. They've got, if Richarlison's back and he plays up front, he'll be absolutely up for it. And if that means Son sort of attacking in from the left, that might occupy Ben White, who's having such an outstanding season at right back for Arsenal. I think it is one of the most significant North London derbies of all time.
What about that point Martin Keown was making the other day, that Tottenham are more motivated to stop Arsenal winning things than they are to achieve things themselves? And he would, he might well know he is a former player of some reputation.
I think there's an element of that with supporters, but I think the players will be wanting to finish in the Champions League. They've got their professional pride. They want to go out and compete. Absolutely, they want to beat the neighbours, and there is that derby element. But they want to get into the Champions League. They want to win the game. You don't get to the top. If you're Heung-min Son or Mickey van der Ven or individuals like that, you don't get to the top of your profession just by wanting to sort of beat someone else and stamp on someone else. You want to do it for your own benefit. So I don't completely buy that argument. Spurs have got something big to play for.
There's quite a bit of Bukayo Saka around in the papers today. Quite in-depth stuff from Bukayo. We don't get that much from him, and it's nice to have a good long read about him.
Yeah, I read the two reads in the Sunday Tell with Sam Dean and then Dan King in your paper, and it was sort of along similar themes in terms of Bukayo Saka. He's got all manner. This is in Sam's piece in the Tell, that he's got all manners of bruises, knocks and cuts. It's not nice, but it's part of it. But then he makes, what Saka's like. He's a very sort of sanguine, intelligent individual. He says, I'm physically much stronger than I was 4 or 5 years ago. And he says, it's actually a good quote if I can read it: for each tackle I have more experience in terms of which ones to go for and which ones to jump to try to avoid a big tackle, so I'm much smarter as well as physically stronger. 18 goals and 14 assists this season, some of them headers as well. His goals, he's a terrific player. I've thought on 1 or 2 occasions, and I know the club were very concerned about this, literally at board level, about some of the tackles that he was taking, the fact that he wasn't getting enough protection. But look, he's not necessarily in absolutely the best of form at the moment, but compared to early in the season. But if Postecoglou's fullbacks are going to push up, that is a risk against a player like Saka and whoever plays on the left, whether it's, Martinelli's pace, you would think it's perfect for him rather than a Trossard. But look, that is going to be a huge game. Anyone who questions its significance doesn't know the history and doesn't know the current mentality of the players.
If Arsenal do miss out on the title and they slip up and City get over the line, do you think they're still being beaten with that they don't have a traditional centre forward?
Yeah.
People will say is what ultimately cost them. I know Kai Havertz has played as a false nine, it's worked to a certain extent, but maybe next season that'll be what they need to take them to the next level. And of course, who else but Newcastle United striker is the one who they seem to want, and they're going to nick.
Luke Edwards, who's the Sunday Telegraph and the Telegraph's North East man, his match report, the headline is Isak lays claim to be league's best striker. And to quote Luke, who is always quotable, the more you watch Alexander Isak, the easier it gets to call him the best striker in the Premier League. There is nobody able to match his form. He is a player to savour, and this is chiming with your concerns, and for Newcastle United to celebrate for as long as they can. I think Ollie Watkins, he's had a fabulous season with his goals and his assists. Erling Haaland, he's still Footballer of the Year. He's still a magnificent player. I don't think he's necessarily available for City against Forest today, but what a player he is. So look, that is some claim. But Isak, his finishing, the penalties, the timing of the runs, and let's give a little bit of credit to Anthony Gordon as well, because I think he's pushed himself definitely into England contention with his creativity, winning the penalties and his passing towards Isak.
Well, Haaland obviously can't sign for Arsenal, but Isak presumably could. To go back to my original point, is he the bit that might be missing?
I completely agree with you. I still think Arsenal need a number 9, and absolutely they will look at Isak because he can play coming in off the left, he can play through the middle. I still think they need a number 9, despite Havertz you know, almost proving my argument wrong with his goals and his finish. I mean, his 2 finishes the other day were outstanding. It was against Chelsea. So look, he's done fantastically, but still that number 9 I think is needed.
He's quite willowy, Isak, isn't he? And he does have his injury. He has had his injury troubles, but actually the way he glides across the pitch, for me, he's a different type of striker to Haaland, but they're both.
I think he can link more than Haaland. I think he can sort of drop off. You saw that yesterday. He can pull it. He's such an intelligent player with his movement, dropping off the centre backs, moving wide. And of course, Newcastle United, they've got this sort of, you know, this huge spread of attacking talent. Whether it's Harvey Barnes, whether it's Anthony Gordon, whether it's Wilson coming off the bench as well. I mean, look, you want him personally, and for Newcastle United to stay, and I hope he gives you another season.
I think hanging on to him and Bruno Guimaraes is going to be a
Who would you rather lose?
Oh,
that's like choosing between your children.
But or shot. I know. Yeah, I mean, neither, but I think we are going to lose one of them.
Bruno is fantastic, but Isak, the goals, that's difficult to replace.
I don't want to lose either of them, Henry.
But you'll have Tonali coming back.
Harley. Yeah, I know. Yeah, well,
go on, choose one.
What, that I had to lose?
If you had to lose for PSR,
I'll have to lose Bruno, I'm afraid.
Really?
Also, he brings in a guaranteed 100.
Yeah.
So I dare say that's how it would have to go. And he also sounds more like somebody who is looking possibly elsewhere.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.